Now we will slide away on the homework check part here. Okay. We're just going to do a few more examples together. I want to give you more time today to be able to kind of work through some of these. Especially if you need to start working on some from yesterday even, I'm just saying. So, these first couple we're going to use as kind of a review. Because we always want to check, whenever we're doing any of these, if I can add down right away and get rid of a variable, that's what I want to do. So before I start multiplying anything, I was going, okay, x and 2x, now that'd be 3x. That doesn't do me any good. 1y and negative 1y. That does, though. So those would cancel out. And I would just add down with the rest. So 1x and 2x gets me 3x. 8 plus 7 is 15, and all of a sudden I'm down to one variable. Very nice. I can just divide by 3, and I've already got my x value just that quick. Now I still need to find y, but at least that part was kind of nice for me. And like we've been doing before, I'm just going to keep using the top one every time. If you want to use a different one, you can. So my top equation is x plus y equals 8, but I know what x is. It's 5. So I'm going to plug that in, leaving me with just the y that I need to figure out what it is. So it's just like anything else, whether it's learning a song, getting ready for a, like a grammar test in English, anything like that, the more you mess with them and the more you practice with them, the easier they get to solve. And then I'm always going to put my final answer in the form of a coordinate point. Now, if you forget to put it in the form of a coordinate point, am I going to mark something wrong? No. But it's just something I want you to be able to get used to. Because whenever you're doing like state testing or stuff, that's the way the answer is going to be. So we got to be able to recognize that. All right, let's see. Can I add down again here? 2 and 1's 3. No. 3 and negative 3. Nice. So I always want to check that first, because sometimes that'll work out nice for me, like it has in both of these first two. When that works, I can go ahead and get my value in. And then, like I said, I'm going to just keep using the top one here. So once I have my, in this case, x, I'm going to plug that in for the x in the other one. Noticing, though, that I don't get rid of the 2. Two times 4 is 8. Now this time it's not just going to be a one-stepper, because here I've got to figure out, get that 3y by itself first. So my positive 8 I'll minus over. Bless you. And then divide by 3. So you get to notice it's kind of like, it's almost to a point of, I'm not going to say using the word boring, but yeah, because I keep doing the same thing. But the repetition over time should make it easier to work with. But again, not every one of these I do is going to work that way. Sometimes if I try to add the two together, negative 1, because there's always a 1 in front there if I don't see it. Negative 1 plus 5 doesn't cancel. 1 and negative 2 doesn't cancel. So this is where we change what we're going to do. And I know this one says if I multiply the first equation by 2. Now what that would do for me is, I see this is negative 2. If this were positive 2, and I can make that happen by multiplying it by 2. Now some of you may have gotten ahead of me and said, but couldn't I multiply it by 5? Because then these would cancel. You sure could. So you have options on these. But whatever number you choose, I've got to make sure that I multiply it all the way through, even to the equal side, not just the variables. And then in this case, I'm going to leave the second one alone, because now it looks a lot more like the first two did. Now I've got a variable, my y in this case, positive and negative 2, that cancels. And I did that by multiplying one of my equations. And then I can just add down, and now I'm down to one variable, and life gets a lot easier. I can divide 0 by something, still get a value, so I get 0. And then similar to what we've been doing on the other ones, I'm going to go back to my first equation. And this 0 that I just found, I'm going to plug it in for x, because that's the variable I solved for. Now I can't have negative 0, that's just 0. So 0 plus y equals 4. Well, that's nice. 0 added anything is just the value. I get 0, 4, and I'm good to go. So what we find, and what we found yesterday, is sometimes I may have to multiply one of the equations before I can add them up. We found out yesterday sometimes it can even be 2, but that doesn't happen quite as often. So when I get down here, I'm going to go past these first three because I don't like all this variable multiply by and there's no room. It just... So instead, we are going to tackle numbers 5 and 7 here because they're closer to what our new stuff is like. Because I look, if I add down 3 and negative 5, nope, doesn't do it for me. Negative 4 and 1, nope, doesn't do it for me. But this is my key right here. Okay, if I can find that variable that doesn't have a number in front of it. Because if this is negative 4, I want this number to be the opposite. I want it to be positive 4. Well, right now it's only 1. I can make it positive 4 by multiplying everything there by that. So since we got some room over here, I'm going to kind of cross these two out, and I'm going to start working over here. So notice I'm not doing anything to my top one. So I'm going to leave that alone. But my bottom one, I'm going to multiply all the way through by 4. So each one of those values, bless you, I'm going to go ahead and multiply by the 4. Again, even the number on the end. Because then, negative 4 and positive 4, one of my variables. Always got to have one of them cancel. Got to find a way. So 3 plus negative 20 is negative 17. 14 plus 20 is 34. And I don't want to add 17 because I'm multiplying it times the x. So I'm going to divide by negative 17 and get my x value. And then just like we've done on every single other one, I'm going to kind of do a little squiggle here. I'm just going to take my top equation. I like to write it out the first time. And this is my x. So I plug it in where the x goes. Again, the 3 doesn't disappear, just the x gets replaced by its value. And you can start to see why we cut back on the assignment some. These take some time, and they take some patience. But like anything else, once you get on a roll, they're really not that bad. they do take up space. And I'm going to do opposites till I squeeze my answer in here at the end. And again, my coordinate points are always going to be x, then y. And that just continues to be my goal. Eliminate something, and I can always work it out from there. And most of the time, the easiest way is going to be finding that one variable that's by itself, and then saying, okay, what number's below it? Well, here it's 7. Okay, so I'm going to use 7 to get what I want. And I'm going to distribute that through to the 2x, to the negative y, and to the negative 11. Again, go to the calculator if need be. I'll just copy the other one down. And then I can start canceling. Negative and positive 7. See you later. Bless you. And then usually I'm only going to have one step left to get x by itself. And then once again, I'm just going to go back to that top expression. My x value is the negative 4. So I'm going to plug that in up here. Now this one, I want to be a little bit careful because I see that it's plus minus here, so I'm going to add the 8. It's different than here when I was multiplying it. So that's one thing to watch out for. The other thing is going to be that there's still a negative in front of my y here. I'm not quite done yet. I'm going to have a sign change because of the divide. Ooh, bless you. And if I'm remembering right, I think there's going to be one last problem on the other side I want to look at you with. Or maybe what I'll do is maybe we can stop this and work on some of the homework ones. I think that's actually a better idea. Let's do that. So we'll keep this. Again, this will be able to be used when we get to our quiz, get to our unit test. That's all good. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over to your homework spot, and I'm going to see if I can help out with a couple of these to get you started. Maybe I'll do one of the regular ones, and we'll do one of the extra credit ones too. All right, I just want to make sure that I don't have any weird ones over here. I'm not seeing any weird ones. Good deal, okay? Now on this one, there's a blend. Like it says up here at the top, some you're going to be able to just add. Other ones, we're going to have to multiply first. So let's see here. I want to find ones where we got to do some multiplying because I think you're going to like doing the add ones. You're not going to have to think about it that much. All right, 14 I'm going to jump over to here. And again, you may have to flip this over. You might find out in a minute and use the back and rewrite things. I think that's what I'm going to do because I'm going to run out of room. I got a note card on here. That's the only reason I'm not going to be flipping back and forth. So using that piece of paper on the back might definitely be to your advantage. So I look, and it's not like number 10 where I can just add down and get rid of the negative 6y. It's not like number 1 where I can just add down and get rid of the plus and minus y. I got to multiply by something. So I look, I'm like, ooh, x doesn't have a number in front of it. I like this. That's negative 3, so I'd want this to be the opposite. I'd want it to be positive 3. So I'm going to take my bottom one, and I'm going to multiply it by positive 3. And you start to see why we'd need some room for this. And another one, it seems strange, but it's one to have to be careful of. 3 times 0 is still 0. Don't make that 3 all of a sudden, because that wouldn't help us out very much. Oh, I'm off the screen. Let's get that taken care of here. So once I get that 3 multiplied through, I notice positive and negative 3 with x. Okay, x's are finally going to go away. It seemed like y was coming up every single time. Add down with the rest of it. And then since my only step left is to get rid of the times 7 on my y, I'll divide by 7, get my y value. And I'm just going to keep doing my normal thing. Some of you might be, man, that bottom one looks easier. I'd say go for it then. But I'm going to go ahead because I am a creature of habit. And I'm going to keep substituting into the top one. But this time, remember, it's y this time. It does matter where I plug that number in. So I'm going to plug that 4 in here for y. And now I'm just going to have a 2-step equation that's left. And again, it's all about getting that x alone. So right now, this plus 16 is not in the box, so it needs to go away. Just keep thinking about those opposites. And since I'm multiplying x by negative 3, because the minus isn't in the middle, I'd have to divide. And once we get here, we always, again, want that final answer in a coordinate form. We're always looking for those problems where if I need to multiply, that would kind of work out well for me. Let's see here. Let's find one more. Which one looks like a good one to take on here? I'll do an odd or an even. I don't care. Anybody? Anybody? Or am I going to get to pick again? They're like, Hardy, you're trustworthy. We will go along with what you want to do here. Let's do about 12. We'll get another homework one in here. So number 12, we're kind of in the middle here. I notice if I add down, nothing cancels right away. So I didn't waste you on one of your easier ones. But again, I look and I say, okay, oh, there's a single variable. Those are always nice. Now that's a positive 3. So we need a negative 3 to work on the bottom here. Okay, so let me recopy this quick. Okay, so that bottom one we're going to do by negative 3 because we're going to be canceling out the x's. Kind of got squished there. So I get to this point and I go, okay, once I multiply through by the negative 3, and I'm real careful with my signs, I notice the x's are going to cancel out. 2 plus 12 is 14y. Negative 2 plus negative 12 is negative 14. And it's just a one-stepper. And once I get that y value, my last step, like it has been on every one of these, I'm going to take that top equation. I notice that it's y equals here, so it's going to go in for y right there. So 2 times -1 is -2. And now we're just into a regular two-step equation. I need to get the -2 out of there, so I do the opposite. And I'll just divide by the 3. I've got both my values. I put them into their coordinate form, and I'm ready to roll. So again, with this assignment, it's the evens that are the homework. The odds are worth a full assignment of extra credit, so you've got the paper there to kind of give you some extra space, because I know it's kind of cramped on here. And then we'll get into our last section here either tomorrow or possibly Friday. We'll kind of see how things are going. But we're looking at next Tuesday for our unit test before we get into exponents. So use that time wisely.